Christmas. I say that with the utmost sincerity. So it's getting close to the holidays. It's like the 19th today. Christmas, of course, being on the 25th. Everybody seems to be really jolly in the spirit this year, and I most certainly am. But I'm going to make a video today about something. Now, I'm not supposed to be shooting a video, or at least posting this until after Christmas per Skye. So I'm going to just film it today and put it together and then respect your wishes and do it later. But like my eyeballs and veins are popping out of my skin trying not to say anything. I have been given, literally, not probably, like the greatest Christmas gift and Christmas, or just gift, period, that I could ever ask for. So a big hobby of mine, huge passion, is, well, it's music. I love music. I love playing it, and specifically guitar. I started playing guitar when I was 16 or 17. Well, no, really, I got my first electric guitar on like my 8th Christmas. I was like 8 years old. Nothing ever happened. I never got lessons or anything. It just sat under a bed or like disappeared, you know. I was always, even as a little tyke, I wanted to play guitar. Then when I was 14, I bought a guitar. My mom got me this guitar from a pawn shop. It was this, I'm not gonna lie, it was a piece of shit. It was a 6-string. It was an Epiphone. It was, I didn't know this at the time. It was an Epiphone Fender Tobacco Burst. It had a little bell on it where the truss rod cover is, and it said Gibson on it. I was under the impression that this Epiphone Fender Stratocaster was a Gibson. And even then, I had known so much about Gibson. I had heard everybody talking about, oh, Gibson, it's the greatest thing on God's green earth. That sat under my bed for a while. Well, one day, I was with a buddy of mine who him and his mom had just moved in across the street from the individual that I'm about to be speaking about. And it was kind of late. It was like 9 or 10 in the evening, and we were trespassing. We weren't really like trying to trespass, but we were in this deep neck of the woods, and this man, big older man, stops us. Now, this man that I'm about to tell you about is an older, right-winged, conservative individual, like the kind that's like, what the hell are you doing on my land type. And that's exactly what happened. And well, he caught us, and he confronted us, and somehow it turned into him showing us his house. And he's showing us every single thing in the house. He's going over this and he's going over that, often to the far corner. I didn't know really what it was specifically at the time, and I'll tell you, was a Mesa Boogie. It was a Subway Rocket, kind of an old school tube amp. Mesa Boogie can rock. Then he had, sitting in his guitar stand in the corner, a Norlin era 1972 Gibson Les Paul Custom. Beautiful guitar. I mean, even to the uninitiated, you don't really got to be into music to look at a guitar like that and be like, damn, that's nice. Well, I was like, oh my god, I pointed it out, and I was like, you play guitar? Da 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 da. Oh yeah, I play. And he said he'd play for me, and so he played for me, my best friend. And oh my god, it changed me forever. The sound, it was a tube amp, so remember that. And then you've got this old style Mojo custom Les Paul that resonates and sustains really, really good. A guitar you would never, you just can't replicate it. And it literally touched my soul. And I know that sounds cliche, but I mean it. I mean, my god, I was blown away. I never heard anything that was more authentic and real and like thumping into my brain musically in a good way in my life. And it stole me. I begged this man. He wasn't going to do it at first. I told him, I was like, hey man, I've got this Gibson under my bed, and it's been sitting there. I've always wanted to play, but I never had a teacher. I was like, if I bring it over, will you teach me, please? Will you just show me how you're doing that, all that cool stuff? Now, this man played old school rock and roll and some blues, which I guess that's where I got it from, because that's what I like. You know, I like Led Zeppelin, you know, Leonard Skinner, all these sorts, all the cool old school bands and stuff like that. And of course, blues. He introduced me to people like Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, Hendrix, of course. Hendrix, he wasn't like the absolute biggest fan, like some people are. I'm a big Hendrix fan. ZZ Top. He introduced me to all these people. And finally, he agreed. He really didn't want to do it because he said that he had taught so many people over and over and over again. And they just don't really follow through. But he agreed. I dug out the guitar that was collecting dust. And I needed an amp, of course. With electric guitars, they use amplifiers. They got pickups. And my dad, he was very musically inclined. He played the steel guitar. He happened to have an amplifier for that. Now, this particular amplifier wasn't an electric guitar amplifier primarily. It didn't have like built-in overdrive or distortion, or it wasn't really anything like that. It was for a steel guitar with the steel guitar and the little pedals. So they almost didn't let me use it at first, but they did. And it worked. It gave me a really good clean sound out of the Epiphone that I had at the time. Well, I bring it over there, and he's excited to see this Gibson that's been collecting dust. And I pull it out of this little bag case that I have for it. In fact, he mentioned something about that too. Before he even saw it, he was like, "You got your Gibson in a bag?" And I didn't really think about it. I was like, "Yeah." And we pulled it out, and he goes, "Oh." He's like, "It's an Epiphone." I do a pretty good impression of him, so basically what you're hearing is how it went. And I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And he was like, "It's just an off-brand guitar, just a budget guitar." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, is it any good?" And listen, I don't knock Epiphone. I played on several Epiphones. You can get great Epiphones, especially these days. Epiphones, it's a great budget guitar if you're getting into music and you're not ready to drop a stack on a Gibson Les Paul or something like that. You know, go ahead and get yourself an Epiphone. It'll do the job. Just get yourself a decent amp. That's what's going to keep you and hold you is a good sounding amp with your guitar. And part of what's going to keep you. And he was like, "Well," and he plugs into his Mesa and he lets his amplifier warm up. It's got tubes. And he just goes to town. He plays the boogie woogie. And, "All right, lessons begin." And we started playing. And I never looked back. I'm 28 years old now, so let's call it 17. I guess 11 years I've been playing. 9 for sure consistently. When I say consistently, I mean all day, every day. Like, you know how when you're a teenager and you're really into video games and you play video games all day, all night with your friends and stuff. Well, that was me with my electric. In fact, I sold later down the road my PlayStation 4, my controllers, all my video games for this particular amp that I wanted. At the time, it was a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe 3. And it was a hot amp. It was a good amp. It's got great clean tones and stuff. Not my favorite amp in the world. I played on a lot. But great amp for somebody who's looking for something specific like that. Fast forward to now, the past couple of years, I haven't touched an instrument. I haven't played guitar at all. I did the unthinkable. I hawked it at a pawn shop. Now here's the story. I've had a hard adult life, really. I spent a lot of time homeless, no family, or living in my car when I finally buckled down and got myself a car and made my life a lot easier. And at one point, I was sure that I just wanted to play music. That's all I wanted to do. And I was like, so if that means not working or getting a job, like I can make this my job. I'm already out here. That's what I did. I didn't really work at a real job until for a very long time. I played music for money, which was, I'm not gonna lie, pretty fucking awesome. So I made hundreds of dollars sometimes. I got one spot. Usually, for some reason, it's kind of odd, but usually it's like the weaker, more dead spots where you make buku money. When you start hitting cities like Austin, I didn't have a great time in Austin. I had an okay time in New Orleans, but when you start hitting cities like that, I guess they're just so used to it. Everybody's so bustling and busy that they're not. It's just not remarkable to them, or they just don't care. But when I'd be in like dead areas, middle of nowhere, people ate it up and they would give me money and stuff. I had this RC1 looper pedal. You play a rhythm over it, and you time it perfectly, and you stop it, and then you maybe turn the volume down just a little bit on this pedal, and you play lead on top of it. And that was the moneymaker. That's what made me a lot of money. And then songs that are really common that people know, that's a good crowd-pleasing, money-making song. Now, a couple years ago, when I hawked it, the reason I did was I woke up one morning, went to go and play. Oh, and how I did this, by the way, I didn't use a Roland Street-powered like Cube amplifier, the traditional, very popular busking amp that I would definitely most certainly use today. I did it in a very funny way. Basically, I stole the electric power, and I'll explain how. So here's the thing. I used outlets, right? Like my amp required an outlet, it had a plug-in. Well, gas stations, businesses, stores, a lot of times if you just kind of look out there, they have outlets. Like gas stations, they use like their ice machines. Like there are outlets. So here's the thing. If I was the type to better ask for forgiveness than permission, because I tried asking a lot, and 10 out of 10, no. Okay, well, I started not asking. Now, the thing is, if they saw me running up from my car with my equipment, like through the gas station windows or something, I was getting kicked out. It was like an 80-20, you know what I mean? 80% you are getting kicked out. And I learned that, but I discovered if I sneak up there and I tune it and I play really quick, I had like a 50-50. Because once I start hearing it, I don't know, I just seem to have gotten away with it a lot more. I would start playing blues, and I would rush into it too. I mean, I'd start playing really as good as I could. Now, I'm not the greatest guitar player in the world. I'm still learning. I see some of these guys on YouTube who are, in my opinion, modern greats. When we're like in the modern rock star world, which is like social media and stuff like that. I'm nowhere near, but that's okay. I just like to play. So I had like a 50-50, going up there and get kicked out or not. Or they'd be like, man, that was awesome, but you gotta go. I'm sorry, my manager. Or whatever. And I discovered that. And I had an extension cord, so I could really like make it work. I had signs and stuff like that. I mean, I went all out. And I had some of the best times of my life doing that. A really, really cool experience. And I met a lot of people. Well, one day I woke up prepared to go and make some money and play. And I get to this spot that I was really digging. I thought I was getting like a good positive vibe from it. There's some cities that are like way better than others. I mean, there's places you can go where people are like jumping, like it's awesome, they love it. And where I was in particular, in fact, it was my hometown, jumping. And so I was in a good mood. I felt good. I was ready. I plug in the my amp and it turns on, and nothing. No noise. Now the power's on and it's working, but it's not making any sound. And I was instantly devastated. I tried. I looked it over. I went to fix it, and I took that as a sign. I was like, maybe this is a sign that I need to just give it up and get a job. I was lucky I was in my own hometown. I thought about that. I was like, well, at least I'm home. And I hawked it. I got rid of it. I think I tossed the amp and I sold the guitar for really cheap reasons. That was that. I got a job, and I just kept living out of my car, and I went to school and yada yada yada, and that was like maybe a little over 2 years ago from now. And really, I didn't think I was ever going back. And I was also picky about the equipment that I had. I didn't want to just get like a cheap amp and a cheap guitar. I really wanted what I thought I would like to play. Well, fast forward to now, I met a beautiful girl who I fell in love with. And it was mutual. We fell in love with each other. I mean, the best girlfriend I've ever had in my life. And I was saying this before she got me this gift. I thought that like really short into the relationship. I was like, I got lucky. I found a dime. And I don't mean just because she's cute. I mean, like we just, we have the same ideas, like with children and like what we want to do. Well, she outdid herself. She got me the greatest gift I think I've ever been given. Literally ever. She's peaked. I don't know how she's going to beat this. I'm in trouble. I don't know how I'm going to compete with this. But, drum roll, and here it is. This is a 2012 Gibson Les Paul Studio. It's a Cherry Sunburst. This is basically one of my dream guitars. Like the color and the style. This is one of my dream guitars. This is one of the guitars I've always ever wanted. You got different types of Les Pauls. You've got the studio, you got the tributes, you got the classics, you got the standards, you got the customs, like in that story I was telling you about. All the studio is, it's one of the cheaper Gibson Les Pauls. Now, don't be mistaken. She spent a ton of money. 4 digits. Understandably so. All it is, it's a Les Paul standard without all like the bling going on. I took that from a comment that I heard before, but that comment is correct. So Les Paul standards will have a binding around the edges of it all the way, and on both sides. I'm pretty sure it'd be like pancaked in, and up and down the frets. So that's the standard, But they got the same humbuckers, the same kind. I'm pretty sure the pickups that are in this guitar here are Burstbucker Pros, I think, if I read correctly. I was looking into it. But, I digress, because this guitar sounds excellent. It is the greatest I have ever played or sounded and felt in my life. And listen, I've been quite familiar with higher-end guitars before. I've had the great pleasure of getting to play them and understand it and make me long for them, because I got to try it out. But this thing right here, it made me cry. I cried. Of course, it's made in the USA, and this was 2012, and this is straight out of their Nashville, Tennessee factory. So I guess I got lucky. A lot of enthusiasts and a lot of people. What am I saying? Myth has it that as far as Gibson Les Pauls go, or their Gibson Electrics, it's really nice to have your Gibson Les Paul from Nashville. That's apparently like the holy factory. It's where they make their best guitars. So I don't know if that's true or what the myth is, but it makes sense because this thing plays. Now let's be honest about Gibson. I know a good deal to be able to talk about it openly like this. Gibson is probably one of the most inconsistent guitar brands in the world. They make hella good guitars, but sometimes shit happens. Sometimes they don't make very good guitars. It just kind of happens every now and then. I don't know what it is. But the manufacturing process that goes into these things are really special. They're quite different from brands like Fender, because Fender's whole point was to have a guitar at one time. I don't think that's very much the case anymore. But the idea with Fender was that they wanted a guitar that played and sounded good for cheaper, on a budget. So they got bolt-on necks, whatever wood they use. Whereas Gibsons are carefully measured and glued onto the most of them onto the body. They choose their best mahogany and maple woods, and they sort it out, and that's where the Gibsons come from, as opposed to the Epiphones, where they'll take from the same line, I'm assuming, but just kind of the not so great looking wood as good, and they use that for the Epiphones. And I'm pretty sure this guitar's birthday it's either March 12th or it's March 24th, from Nashville, Tennessee, 2012. And so that's the deal there. And of course, the frets feel better with a higher end guitar. It just feels cleaner, like glass. I don't know. It just feels smoother. Holds a tune as good as probably an Epiphone, because Epiphone uses Grover tunings as well. The electronics are really good. The hardware is excellent on it. It's just it's built for life. It's kind of like the old saying, buy nice or buy it twice. This is a guitar that I will probably get to have for the rest of my life, assuming I keep it in good working order and I take care of it. This did not come with a case. I guess it was, of course, this is a used instrument, so I'm pretty sure it was on consignment. This particular seller did not have a case for it. Don't panic. I've got one coming out. I called every guitar store in town, all the way to the next city over, looking for just a spare Gibson Les Paul hard shell case for it, and none of them had it, because I wanted it immediately. I wanted to get it and immediately put it in there. Or at least they were all spoken for, so they're being sold with their daddy Les Paul. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to order it. And so if I'm going to order it, I'm going to get the one I really want. So I got this vinyl tweed one by Crossrock. It just looks really sweet, and it just feels like it fits me in this guitar. So, greatest gift ever? I think so. But oh no, she didn't stop there. She got me an amplifier too. This is the amp that she got me. This is a Boss Katana Mark II. And what's cool about this is that this is the same exact amp, but the Big Brother version of the one that I had before. The one I had before, I'm pretty sure, was much smaller. It was like a 20 watt or like a 50 watt. It was like half of what this one is. And it did well, so I don't know. I mean, it makes sense. I would absolutely recommend a Boss Katana. Okay, now I'm more of a tube amp kind of guy, but there's nothing wrong with solid states. You're gonna have purists and older guitar players that will kind of give you shit about it. But, you know, dude, it's not the 1970s anymore. They make nice shit. Like, it's quality. It's good. I'm pretty sure this one's whole deal is it's able to get loud while still sounding good. It'll replicate kind of a tube-like sound. And I like it. The problem with tube amps, though, is they're loud. They're great for gigging. You know, they're awesome for performance and just getting that crystal pump sound, you know. But I live in an apartment, so I can't really get away with that. So I needed something that sounds good at low volumes and something I can control without pissing the neighbors off. Well, it's still a little big, but the cool thing about this amp is it's got wattage control settings. So you can go all the way down to 0.5 watts, which is what's on it now. And I'll show you how this thing sounds and how this sounds in just a second, to 50 watts, and then all the way over clockwise is 100 watts. Which, obviously, I haven't tried that, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it does a pretty damn good job. Now, I got this 4 or 5 days ago. Christmas is right around the corner. And especially with a guitar like this, I am not a pro guitar connoisseur, especially with something that cost $1,100. So I naturally went and got it set up, make sure that it's exactly how I want it. I wanted low action, minimum fret buzz. Just make sure it's all good and working order. Nothing is wrong with the bridge or the saddle. You know, the electronics are working good. It's just make sure the playability is good. And they've actually happened to restring it for me too. And I picked it up today. So I'm going to have to pull on this a little bit, kind of put it back in tune. And I'll play it, let you guys hear how it sounds. Just do me a favor. Okay, it's been a little over 2 years since I played, so don't make fun of me. I'm a little rusty. So right now I'm on my rhythm, switch turned up. overdrive some rock and roll. Yeah, it plays good. It plays and sounds really good. I don't think I've ever had this much comfortability and playability. I'm really rusty. I haven't. It's actually kind of sad. It's devastating. So, but my God, the thing screams. This amp screams. It's on 0.5 watts, and I'm keeping it low. I don't really play that loud all the time. I'm kind of trying to push my luck here for the camera. And I suppose I'm kind of curious to know how the mic is on the camera too, how well it'll pick up. I hope it picks up as well as these pickups pick up. But this thing rocks. Skye, I love you. Thank you. You know, that's what Don, my old guitar teacher, his name is Don. Now, he played all sorts. I mean, it really, that's of course where I got it's where I inherited it from. You know, he liked things like ZZ Top. I'll tell you who my favorite is, though. Led Zeppelin. It sounds good. It resonates really well. It sounds like authentic. Listen, if you're on the fence, I'm gonna just say it right now. If you're on the fence with whether or not to get a pricier guitar, let's say you've been playing for a few years and you know you want it, do it, dude. Like, put some money away. Save. I don't care if you gotta save like $20 a week. Do it. It is so worth it. It even smells good. It has like this smell. Like an Epiphone Epiphone didn't smell like anything. This has a smell. It just smells like my fingers.